everyone, and welcome to today's character design video. Today we are working on an old character. I received this character in 2019 and haven't had much luck with him since. However, what makes him unique today is that he was made even before I was a user on Toyhou.se. So even before I started my own character work, he was created by someone else. You can find all the credits on his Toyhou.se page, but I find it really cool to own a character that has an inherent older age than my own designs do. It's pretty cool. But let me go ahead and introduce this character to you. His name is Cher. He is a blood orange llama. Again, I have owned him since 2019, but he was created by Toyhou.se on Toyhou.se in 2015. He is a character I've wanted to connect with for a long time, but unfortunately I failed. His feral design seems to not have what I want him to be. I'm not quite sure how I want his future to look, but today I want to get a concept down for an Anthro design, and then we can work from there. I think his feral design just isn't interesting enough, and over the years I've only gotten more out of pocket with my designs, so I just don't think he's aged with me well at all. Because I really do like his concept, I'm just not a fan of his current feral design. So I'm thinking if we make an Anthro design, I can also take what I've learned from that and apply it to his feral design and we can make a new one. Changing his design from a feral to an Anthro design should be very straightforward. I actually don't plan to make any changes from the original when it comes to theme, color, or concept. What I think will make this character much more lovable is giving him a distinct body type and a better silhouette. This will also give him so much more personality and substance to work with. He will also just be more readable. And to start out working on his design, I'm going to be doing a simple symmetrical ref sheet. That way, if my design doesn't end up being finalized in this one ref sheet, there's no harm in it because it's just a simple ref sheet anyway. We can always make changes or make a new one. Something I really want to highlight in his newer design is his neck. He is a llama, so he should have a longer neck. I actually don't have many characters with longer necks, so this will be a nice change, and I can't say I've ever perfected it, so this will be an improvement. For his body type, I want him to be a bigger boy. I feel like I haven't done a chunkier male design in a while. I think I've been doing too many tall, lanky boys. I think we need a chunkier design. And I think a llama would be inherently chunkier anyway, so it's a perfect fit. Now, something I did try to do originally but changed for convenience was changing the hoof type of his hands. Originally, I wanted it to be a totally rounded hoof. Think of like My Little Pony hooves. They obviously don't have any distinct fingers. But because I wasn't drawing it well enough, I opted for finger hooves, or what I like to call them. I'm not really sure what you would call them. I guess they're kind of like goat hooves. Do goats have hooves like that? I don't know. But I have a lot of characters with this type of hand, so it's not hard for me to draw. I do have one character that comes to mind with the total hoof hands, and that is Dusty. I'm pretty sure he's the only one. It's just hard to draw sometimes. So Dusty's gonna be a special boy and keep being the only one with that type of hand, and Cher just won't relate to that for now. Maybe I'll change it back, but for now he's getting the finger hooves. Now, as I said, the colors will pretty much stay the same. However, my technique on adding the highlight pattern will be different than the original. It didn't start out that way though. I tried first to do it the normal way. I first started by drawing the highlights with a lighter color over the other one. You can see that red, I tried adding like a lighter pink onto it. But once I moved to the skin, I liked the process of adding a darker color over it and then erasing the highlights out of it that way. Plus, I can give it a nice airbrushed look, which I think will make him look a lot more juicier and like liquid. Again, he is a blood orange llama. Blood oranges are a fruit, which are inherently juicy, so having his design reflect that juiciness is a positive. Actually, having these highlights in his design also gives me a great excuse to do a variant on the polka dot or freckle theme, something I overuse in my designs a lot, but I really don't care because I really like it. I also just think it makes him look really good. Now, I'm making sure to draw his design even without the fluff because I want to make his fluff translucent, so we should be able to see his body underneath it. If you want to draw him, his red layer's opacity is 80%, so that's how you should get the exact color I did. To add some more unique traits to him, I thought adding tears under his eyes would help make his eyes read better. I like the simplicity of them, but I like the little blood juice. It helps with the expression. I did think maybe adding blood drops somewhere else on the design would help, but I think it just cluttered it up too much, so I vetoed that decision and just put it under the eyes. But that pretty much wraps up the first pass through in his Anthro design. I really, really like it. I think it looks great. I didn't add his tail. I kind of forgot, but that's not really a big deal because his tail is pretty much just as simple as his fur, and I would use the same technique to get that. So here is the final first Anthro ref sheet for Cher. Now here's what we are going to do for the rest of the video. I would leave it off there, but I don't feel like this was enough of a video with substance to just leave off there. I want to give you guys some more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to do another ref sheet quite yet. I'm going to just do a digital drawing with Cher to kind of test to see how I like his Anthro design. We'll kind of put it through the ringer, see if I like it by doing a drawing. It doesn't need to be a great drawing, it just needs to be something to test the waters. So let's go ahead and do that. So for this drawing, we are going to focus on just a full body drawing, not worrying about background or pose, just getting something down for a sort of study. After processing his first pass of his Anthro design, I already found 3 things I wanted to make sure that were in this drawing. First off, his tail, just to make sure that if I wanted to have other people draw him, maybe for art fight, he had at least something of substance for people to go off of. Secondly, I wanted his mouth to be open just so I could nail down the colors that I wanted it to be. I also wanted to give him that front set of teeth like rabbits or my guinea pigs have. I felt like that fit his design. Thirdly, the most important thing I wanted to change is his feet and the colors. I liked the hooves in theory, but after a while it felt like an eyesore and I really disliked it. There was just no color balance at the bottom of his design. It was lacking his orange skin tone and it was just filled with that bright yellow. So in this pass, we are going to match his feet to his hands and make his fur rise a little more on his calf, and that should make his design so much better. By making the fur rise, I can make sure that orange really stands out. Since I am drawing him all over again, I can try to get a better result of his body type. I will say the pose and angle I achieved are very cool and I really like the end result, but it's very hard to understand all of his chunky spots and his little fatty rolls, so there is definitely room for improvement in that regard. But I do think I'm getting closer, and I also think my anatomy kind of is getting better recently. However, that left arm, there's something wrong with it. It's always the arms where I'm like, there's something wrong and I don't know what it is. But I think it's passable. Maybe in a week I'll look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this is what's wrong with it. But right now I'm not seeing it. Maybe something's wrong with the hand size. There is something off, I just don't know. Lineart actually took quite a while because I wanted to make sure I did my very best with getting the proportions closer, especially when it comes to his little tushy. I don't know why it was such a hard time to draw. Well, I don't know. I guess it's just because I'm not going off of a reference and I'm just kind of guessing. I'm not really sure what his tushy is supposed to look like, so I think I did an alright job. It took a whole lot of finagling and moving it around and feeling like, am I making his waist too short? Am I making his waist too long? So I ended up moving it back and forth until I found a spot that I kind of felt like I liked. But my favorite part of this design probably has to be his little back fat rolls. I think they're really cute and squishy. It's honestly one of my favorite things to draw is little fat rolls, but when I draw them wrong, it's kind of sucks. But when I draw them right, it's pretty cool. It's actually rather funny in the end result. It's kind of like not clear, like you don't get to see his tushy that as clearly as you do when his fur's not on it. Do you know what I mean? Because there's the layer of him just being naked and then there's the layer on that with the fur, and when you have the fur on it you don't get to see as clearly as the details, so maybe it's just a little bit of a waste of time, but I thoroughly enjoyed the process. He also looks so funny without his fur, might I say that. Like, that is one of my favorite things. He looks so funny and naked. When it comes to this round of drawing his big chunks of fur, like his sheepy fur, his llama fur, I want to make sure it passes over the line art of the body completely. Last time I did it, I kind of had spots where it overlapped, but that kind of made coloring a little harder. So I want to make sure it goes over it and we make it a bit more thicker. Hopefully that makes sense. That might not make sense to everyone, but it makes sense to me. I did not change anything about the colors in the second drawing because I really like them. So there was really no touch-ups I did there. However, I went more extreme when it comes to adding those oranges onto the yellow, erasing the highlights on his like skin, his flesh, and then the highlights on the fur in the end. I really took it to an extreme, just because I like it. I like it when I do that. So you can tell in the ref sheet and in this drawing, there's way more like freckle highlights in this drawing than there is the ref sheet. And I honestly don't think that's bad for his design. I feel like it makes sense for him to be able to do both. So a few freckles or many freckles is fine. Or a few highlights or many highlights is fine. You know, looking at him, his skin kind of reminds me of cheese. Is anyone else getting a cheese vibe? But like him without his fur and just, oh, it's so funny. It tickles me so much. Like I might just make him a ref sheet without the fur and have that be part of his design, that he can just like take it off and he looks a little naked and fleshy and kind of like cheese. I think that's funny. I think that's comical. Because I don't have any characters that are like that, so I think it'd be funny if he was. The way I actually place down the shadows on his skin and then eventually the fur and then erase the highlights from there, I actually really recommend everyone try that as a shading technique every once in a while. It's a lot of fun and you can get really cool results with it. So if you don't know how to shade, that's kind of my technique in doing the easiest route. Because it's you don't necessarily need to understand it, and I can fill it, like when I did with this drawing, I can fill it with a bunch of highlights and it still look pretty good and juicy. So that's kind of my little cheat code, is to place down your shadows and then erase the highlights out of it. I think it's fun. It's pretty cool. But for this specifically, it felt like it took so long. When I looked into the recording, it actually took me longer to do the line art, I think, but it felt like forever. But it could have been because I have recently been watching Naruto and I really wanted to get back into focusing because there was like plot happening. I'm like, I can't draw and focus at Naruto because this is a very important plot moment in the season and I need to watch it. But I ended up persevering and drawing and then watching Naruto. But it took forever to get these highlights. But I did enjoy it. It's always one of my favorite processes to do, is the highlights, when I get to take it to this extreme. If I have to like really think about it, then I don't want to do it. But I didn't really have to think about it. It was just like time filler, and I really enjoy time filler. And since I didn't have to worry about the background, I just threw something really easy down and simple. And I also saved the file of just like the full body with no background, so it really doesn't matter whether I have a background or not. This is just for his toy house mainly. But this is the final result. I am like, I could cry. I'm so happy with how I'm taking his character because I've had him for so long. He's been a character I've really wanted to love and appreciate, and I finally like feel like I'm in a spot where I can do that, and that is just like that's weight off my shoulders because I really like him. He's really cool and I love his concept and I want to show him some love. So here is Cher, my baby boy. I love him. He's great. I can't wait to draw him again. However, I think I'm gonna probably wait a little bit and we'll do a character file because I'm a little bit highlighted out when it comes to those highlights. But this is the final. And I will go ahead and put our ref sheet and this final drawing next to each other so you have a comparison of how we improved, how we changed. You can tell his neck thickness changed, so that was funny. I do think the thinner one looks a little better. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. I love you. God loves you. Stay safe.